minutes before we start, but we'd like to have a moment of prayer before we start. Heavenly Father, we come before you in this month of giving thanks, in this month of recognizing the gratefulness we are for the many veterans that lay down their lives, they give up their families, and they go wherever we tell them to go. And we thank you for that, Lord, that to protect the freedoms that we have, that we can meet tonight. Please lead and guide this board, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. You're trying it out for Santa Claus. It's the wrong color, brother.
Elf here.
Oh. I thought you were Junior Claus.
Okay, at 6:30, I call the special meeting to order of November 24th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. To begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Whalen.
Yes.
DeShano.
Here.
Eddie here. Schlander.
Here.
Campbell.
Here.
Approval of agenda. All in favor of...
I make the motion that we approve the agenda.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Communications. No communications. Supervisors report. I sent everybody an email a couple hours ago in reference to a meeting that we had at the Bay County Water and Sewer Department. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be placed on the agenda for next month. Projects, possible CCF raises. I think 6 cents was the recommendation. We show a deficit of 7,000 plus in the negative. And that was the scope of the meeting this morning. There is 3 projects that they wanted to bring forth this morning at the Water and Sewer Department. So, but that's for the most part any of the new stuff. Trustees report.
I've got a page that you guys are going to have to bear with me a little bit. I missed the last 2 meetings. The first one I wasn't informed of. I was out of town playing. I've been watching your Facebook page a lot and trying to catch up. The second one, I had the packet dropped off at my house, and I caught Kayla in the front yard, and she was dropping off the packet, and I had talked to her. Everybody here knows I have school on Thursdays, and it's 2 more classes. I got exams. I couldn't miss, and I told her, so I did let someone know I wouldn't be here, and they do know my schedule in advance. But I get running through everything, and I watch the videos, and I watch the videos, and I watch the videos, and I have to come out with some facts here. The November 17th meeting was an invalid meeting, so anything done on the November 17th meeting would have been pointless. The packets didn't get dropped off to the trustees' porches like the following meeting. As far as the November 10th meeting, I did not know of Mr. Eddie's annual hunting trip. No one let me know. I did know Miss Schneider wasn't going to be here. She had told me she had some stuff to do with the family and was going to get she was letting me know she might not be present. So those are some facts straight out of her. And do you remember me telling you I wasn't going to be there, Kayla?
Yeah.
Okay.
I passed that on.
He our supervisor acted surprised that no one let him know in both videos, which I really don't like to go out. I don't like to talk. I like to have fun and I like to make light of everything. But moving on, I wanted to talk about the transparency resolution because he hadn't seen it or hadn't read it per the videos. The transparency video, or the transparency resolution happened. We had gotten to the point where we were over, or going to be over budget on our lawyer fee by a substantial amount of money. And we did the transparency resolution and hoping to slow down the bleed in that department. The lawyer called me the next day, which Supervisor Eddy has said, that's illegal, they can't take away my responsibilities as a supervisor. He sent me several MCLs and says you need to call Mike Homier. I called Mike Homier and he started out with, you know, it's not legal, you can't take away his rights and speak to a lawyer and have legal counsel. And I said, wait a minute here, slow down, we didn't take away any rights. I says, have you read it yet? He says, no, he had sent it to me. I talked to Mr. Eddy this morning. I says, there was no rights taken away. He can still call MTA anytime. That's a service we pay for once a year, which you use regularly too, and I have started using. MTA, who's advised us to do the transparency resolution. He says, okay. So I read it to him, and he says, okay, it's not practical. And I said, well, here's the deal, Mike. If we don't have the money and we haven't budgeted and we can't pay you, will you still represent us? He says, no, Brian, we don't represent you if you don't pay. I says, I'm not saying we're broke by any means, but we haven't done any transfers and we don't have the money here to pay you. I said, we're behind. We haven't seen 3 months of bills. He informed me that he wasn't the accountant and he doesn't actually handle the billing. And I says, I didn't think you did. But common sense would dictate here. If we don't have the money in there to pay you and we haven't transferred anything and you don't get paid, you're not going to counsel us, correct? Yes. So I moved on to that. I've had a couple discussions in the past back to the bill pay resolution was next. We've spent, and on the videos you can see I went back through where we've talked about not reconciling, bills being late, bills not being paid for the last 6 to 8 months. And we've gotten help across the board, including Supervisor Eddy had a treasurer come in, and in those videos we've been patient, and it's a lot. We all started out fresh here and it was like drinking through a fire hose. Everybody we had their own personal dumpster fires at one time or another. So when we got to that bill pay resolution, and stuff wasn't right, and you can watch your videos, and stuff wasn't right. Always with the bills there was discrepancies, and stuff not reconciling. That got written, and in turn, if you read that, it also calls for a second meeting in the actual, which I have copies of it. So I'd like to, will you read this for me? I'm struggling.
Pauquolin Township Bill Payment Resolution. Whereas the Pauquolin Township Board of Trustees holds the ultimate fiduciary responsibility for the timely, accurate submission of bill payments and the statutory responsibility for the proper accounting of such expenditures. And whereas numerous errors, omissions, and inaccuracies have been present throughout the current fiscal year without proper correction once identified, and continued repeated errors have prevented comprehensive reconciliation from being completed. And whereas the previous post-audit resolution prevented review prior to payment distribution, and whereas the majority of the errors have been related to ACH, EFT electronic payments, including large payments being made without notice to the proper elected officials, and whereas monthly bill review has been hampered by delayed preparation of invoices and in relation to the monthly meetings for approval. Now therefore be it resolved that the Pauquolin Township Board of Trustees dictates the following procedure. Bill approval and payment will now occur twice each calendar month to coincide with the regular monthly meeting, second Monday of the month, unless otherwise approved by the board, and a special meeting, fourth Monday of the month, unless it falls on a holiday and will then be scheduled to the next business day at 6:30 p.m. The clerk's office is directed by this resolution to prepare all invoices properly stamped with the date received and a complete journal printout for review by the Board of Trustees by 12 noon on the date of the meeting. Any invoices arriving after this time will be added to the subsequent bill approval on the aforementioned timeline. The clerk's office is further directed to include any payroll having occurred since the previous review meeting for the Board of Trustees to review. All approved payments are made only by paper checks, as ACH EFT electronic payments are no longer allowed per this resolution, and payments must be completed within 3 business days of approval, including any corrections identified by the Board of Trustees. All reporting requirements between the clerk's and treasurer's offices will continue as established to ensure checks and balances, and the clerk will prepare a complete list of all checks distributed and journalized to each board member after checks are issued as approved. Be it further resolved that the Calhoun Township Board of Trustees revokes and replaces any previous post-audit resolution or ACH EFT electronic payment resolution or motion with this current resolution. Directs the clerk's office to make all identified corrections dating back to April 2025 and explicitly forbids any further ACH EFT electronic payments from the clerk's office at this time.
And I had, so the special meeting, tonight's special meeting wasn't called by me, which was stated several times that I was being allotted to call a meeting. The special meeting was called by the bill payment resolution. We had bills that were unpaid, and just so everybody does know, there was at least a half dozen bills in that packet, which Mr. Eddy read off to everybody, that were already over a month late. Every month we have a bill that's been missed or late. We've been working through it. We've been trying. And he wants to hold us all accountable for the bills and really made it a point to flip through, but he hasn't held the clerk accountable. I just want the same treatment when it comes to bill pays or missing a meeting or a meeting I didn't know about as she gets. I want the same grace. I want the same forgiveness. I don't think it's fair that I got called out for missing a meeting and bills being late. Yet he's went 6 months knowing bills have been late and money is off, and it's okay. I want the same treatment. Back to now to the agenda resolution. The agenda resolution is kind of my fault and my idea and my brainchild. I had a couple conversations with Brad about this, saying, can we put it out a couple weeks before so people can have input and people can give their feedback on it. Mumblings and mutterings, and I didn't get to, or I gave it to him and he got it on, but I think it'd be nice if it was, I thought it would fix the problem. I got answered back, you sound an awful lot like Lori. It didn't work out good for us. We had a conversation, we then leveled it out, and we were good. And as true fashion, it came out the week before. No one really got the input. It's not a barter thing, it's a tool for us to follow so everybody gets the same information. And I just thought if I could do it this way, we could tone down the amount of volume and everything we have and maybe eventually shorten up the meetings from 2 hours to 35 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. And I know sometimes stuff comes up. I don't want to make the agenda. I have never called a meeting. That's not my job. That's his job. Never taken anything away from him. In fact, he could just say thank you because now he can dump it on me. And I have to make the agenda and I have to get it out in a timely fashion and I have to follow through with the recommendations I've come up with. So it is my fault and I'm sorry, but I'm not calling meetings. The resolution is calling meetings with 3 trustees' votes to approve the resolution. So they were there. The law was met. I called MTA. I am trying to be the best I can be for everybody here, and it's been a little bit overwhelming for me finally, where everybody else has had a hard time for the last 3-4 months. I want to fix this. I want it to run smoother. I need everybody to know the truth. And moving on. Oh, the lawyer, the budget, we're at roughly $35,000. We budgeted $25,000. That's why that come up. We approved $10,000 of it for the millage screw up to proceed with suing the other lawyer that screwed up the millage. But so that means we're already over. it just, this stuff has got to stop. It's just day-to-day business is what we're supposed to be doing. I took down a bunch of notes from the videos I watched at 6:17. We're at 6:22. He's a leader, not a boss. A leader leads by example. You can reach out to any of us. He still calls me. I answer his texts. We don't have the phone conversations we used to have. We don't have the pleasantries we used to have, because it's awkward and it's abrasive right now, and I don't like where we're at. So my answer to that is to step away from it. But at the tail end of it, after the videos and watching everything that come up, this board has not taken away from anything away from Supervisor Eddy. We might have restricted, we might have slowed it down, but no one ever stopped and asked why. In those videos and the comments I see on your Facebook page, no one says, hey, do you think that happened for a reason? Or are us three or the other three board members completely out of line? I don't see none of that on there. No one's saying, I'm thinking, holy cow, you know, I'm trying to make a difference, trying to make it better. So at that, he said 3 trustees were doing a dereliction of their duties. I found offense to that. I didn't know about the invalid meeting. I didn't know. It never even hit my porch. And I thought it was great that the second one she put out, she put an envelope with a rock in it, so just in case. So I thought, holy cow, did mine blow away the first time? And then we checked the yard and we looked around and nothing was there. Oh, planning commission appointment. I had got a phone call. I used to be on the planning commission. And I talked to Deb and I said, hey, and she said, well, we need more people. I said, well, we're gonna post it. I says, I don't know why we want to post it and let everybody know in the township we're looking for someone with the planning commission. It wasn't, he has to tell me who he recommends. I just thought it'd be a great idea to have the people come out, sit in front of the board and say, hey, I'm interested in the planning commission. I have X, Y, and Z. But that's completely closed off because that's his job. So his job makes it so he can't see anybody else's ideas or the opportunity we have by posting it and letting the whole community know we need a planning commission member. Because not everybody out of the 4,000, 5,000 people we have in the township watch the website page. I do, but not everybody. So there's a lot of people out there that might be interested in it. I thought, we'll put it on Facebook, we'll do this and that. She said, I think that'd be a great idea too. I says, then come out and speak at a meeting and then we can make the have Brad make the recommendations and move forward. I didn't take that away from him. I tried to sweeten the deal. I tried to say, hey, let's let everybody get involved. That was my fault too. And I heard about that on the video. So that's where I'm at. That's my trustee report. That was the facts. It doesn't happen. It's not being spiteful. It's not being, we're kind of dealing with it a la carte as it goes, like we have done. And that's all I have to say. So thank you for your time.
Well, I'd like to make a comment, because there sure seems to be a lot of comments out there, and maybe we should talk about some of the facts. And November 10th, I was quite blindsided to have received an A to Z agenda, and yet no trustee Eddy. We waited, but he was not in attendance, and he had not contacted any of the rest of us. That I do not consider as right. We didn't sit here and malign him, but the videos show that he sat there and maligned us when we legitimately informed him we could not be there. It was never communicated to me in person of the meeting on the 17th. Then I received a notice about the 18th. On the 19th, as I was en route to a funeral home to take care of a funeral, I let him know that I could not be here the next day. That was not relayed to anyone. It was just a matter of the trustees didn't show up. Well, the trustee told you, and I have a mile tracker that shows the exact minute when I was in the building and standing in that doorway and informed you. I do take great sadness in the fact that you would say, trustees didn't tell me. So I did get a notice of that event. What I don't like is the negative atmosphere in this building, the lack of communication, the lack of respect. Respect isn't a given, respect is earned. Tonight's meeting was called by 3 of 5 trustees. And when it was a no-show on the 10th, we conducted the people's business like we were supposed to do, because we were a quorum. We received no budget updates. That is one of your jobs. That is one that should be seriously looked at, since we are considerably over budget. He constantly seems to have a way of twisting the truth. And when you're answering questions in this building, you know, you never know if you're going to be verbally accosted or not. I'm sorry, I don't appreciate it. I just don't appreciate it. I didn't grow up in a family nor a business atmosphere that ever was conducted in that mannerism. The pushback, when someone says, you know, it's uncalled for, it really is uncalled for. And the people didn't elect me to have to tolerate that. He'll misrepresent what you say, so it'll fit him. He makes it very personal. You know, he's not knowing of the facts or the law. And when it's put out there, if you actually look into it, it doesn't always quite line up, Lisa. I'm quite sorry, but the new Red Book does not quite line up. I asked for answers regarding the legal bills during a bill pay session way back in October. And when I asked a question about the legal bills, it's like they just disappeared from the building. And Kayla said, you know, Charlie, I didn't get them. Come here. We sat down, we looked in the computer. They were not there. And I told her, I said, I'll call Foster Swift tomorrow. And I did. And when I called Foster Swift the next day, looking for the answers regarding our legal bills, plain and simple, the accounting person at Foster Swift said, well, I'll have to check with Mike Homier before I can give you any information. Last time I knew, there's 5 trustees sitting here, and 2 of us do have a financial responsibility to this township. So, ironically, there was never a phone call back from the lawyer. That I find even more interesting, since he worked for us. But that's okay. I have been constantly maligned. I don't appreciate it. Board members that don't align with you, well, you know, there must be something wrong. 2 people don't ever see the same thing. We can all look at the map right there on that wall. One person sees the residential district, another one sees the red, another one sees it's a master plan. It's a paradigm in which you see things, and it's different. The Open Meetings Act, you said, you know, someone always has a right to talk in a public meeting, no matter what. Well, to be quite blunt, when it comes to people spouting off expletives in public meetings, there's such a thing as the breach of the peace, and they are to be removed under the Open Meetings Act, just for the record, and that is the law. Speaking toward them, board members, you know, the way that you have is no way to get respect. Talking as friends is a way to get respect. You know, I grew up in a house that believed you don't lie, cheat, or steal, and you walk humbly with your God. Plain and simple.
Is that the end of the trustee report?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, everybody's got their facts and truths. Clerk report.
I'm not going to bore you all with sides here. I am just here to try and get the approval for the bills. That's all I want. That's all I wanted. So whatever I gotta do, if I gotta drop more rocks off at people's doors, I'll do it, but I would just like these bills to get approved. That's it. Thank you.
Treasurer's report.
I want to start by saying I also was never informed about the supervisor's annual hunting trip. In addition to that, I did inform office staff that I had appointments on the 20th that had been scheduled for quite some time. However, this kind of opens up a little different area. I became concerned about conflicts of interest in this office in December of 2024. Mr. Eddy became very abusive when he did not feel that I was acting quickly enough to apply a payment for his court-ordered debt when he signed his paychecks back to the township. I expressed that I was checking with the auditor to make sure it was done right. Mr. Eddy stated he would call the attorney, and I told him that was a conflict of interest since it involved him personally. He called anyway, then called the auditor for the township, and recorded both calls. The people of the township were charged for Mr. Eddy's personal legal business and his impatience. Mr. Eddy recently abstained from a vote on a land split without explanation, as is required. It was because he bought the land that was split. He then pressured the township assessor to expedite his closing, and professionals that were also involved in this had noted the perceived conflict of interest due to his position. Mr. Eddy also received a large refund from the township for his property and is awaiting a larger refund from previous years, all while having delinquent personal property taxes dating back to 2018. In fact, the township has written off delinquent personal property taxes for his parcel dating back to 2013. The same parcel and business has been the subject of lawsuits against this township dating back nearly a decade, and after many losses, Mr. Eddy continues to ignore a court order. Mr. Eddy continues to verbally abuse and personally attack fellow board members. This happens within the office and through his network online. He stops at nothing to demoralize and will fabricate and manipulate to get his way. The special assessment brought out his most fervent contempt. Asking any questions about it brought yelling and swearing with no regard for his audience. It was at that point that I informed him that he couldn't speak to me however he wanted. Since that time, he has spent an inordinate amount of time, your time and money, to find the slightest issue he could use as an attack. He will stop at nothing to destroy anyone who speaks up to him. He has ensured that tribalism rules this office, and it doesn't stop there. He extends his attacks to personal lives and businesses. All the while, Mr. Eddy defends his allies. When they fall short of their duties, he defends them despite the law. He makes excuses for them and then villainizes anyone that tries to set things right. Mr. Eddy has failed to uphold his fiduciary duties as a trustee. He has handled your money through unapproved expenditures and tens of thousands of dollars as his own personal piggy bank, including spending tens of thousands of your dollars to collect more of your money, when the alternative would have been much, much less. Our annual budget, which Mr. Eddy is statutorily required to develop and monitor, is a mess. Many budget line items are over or nearly over budget with 5 months yet remaining. Funds are being misappropriated in the clerk's office, and some are not even being accounted for, although the money is already gone. Repeated questions or comments to bring accountability are dismissed. This board took action to protect our township and the people's money. We acted to ensure the entire board was privy to our legal advice, as is our right, and to stop the bleed from the accounts. That is a fiduciary act to protect the people's money. That is our job. As a final note, the previous attorney, who was let go, did not return phone calls to other board members, did not respond to emails to other board members, even when there was already a conversation in place. I'll give you a very specific example. I talked with Mike Homier from Foster Swift regarding our cost recovery ordinance. We were getting some information back from insurance companies, and I wasn't sure if it was a problem with our ordinance or if we just needed to approach it a little bit differently. Spoke with him, he asked me to send him some documents. I did. To this day, months later, I didn't receive a response. That is very specific township business, and that's exactly what the township attorney is supposed to be for. Because of that, we did not feel that he was fulfilling his responsibilities as our attorney, and that is why he was let go.
Okay. Well, I'm glad everybody was prepped for their reports. I find that anybody wants to discuss any of this stuff after the meeting, I'm fine with that. Whether it be on the news, whether it be anywhere, I do not believe majority of this stuff to be factual. Go ahead and beat up on me all you want. The person I've been protecting is a learning clerk. The clerk that was here was getting beat up on. Her name is Sherry Cruz, the sabotage word. Many items had been
We already
misconstrued.
had a supervisor report. Please stick to the agenda items.
So my 1 minute is too much for your 20?
You already had 60. Everybody here, who's probably here, has seen it. You don't have to explain it to them again.
I got a lot more for you, bud.
I bet you do, buddy.
And it's called Facts and Truth. And I think some of what you did is
Probably
definitely not
backstabbing
bad.
like you called me when I had
Yeah,
my own
don't
opinion.
worry, that's all recorded.
Yeah, I know you record everything,
Yeah.
every conversation you have.
So, public comment. We're gonna move to limited to agenda items only. Public comment.
Deb Knuckle. I feel I have to address the board. I have made it known at the planning commission that we are short members. One quit and 2 meetings we've had and there has not been a quorum. So we have not been able to have the meeting and I have to make it known I will not be at the meeting on December 11th. Which is our monthly meeting. Therefore, if nobody is appointed before that, that meeting either needs to be canceled today for out of the fairness of everybody who shows up and out of the fairness of the board themselves. We're sitting at waiting for the members to show up and they were legitimate reasons why they weren't. It's just we are in a spot and unfortunately the member that resigned, it's almost a month right now. November 3rd or 4th is when that member resigned and we do not have anybody yet that I know of. And I'm just telling the board up front that we
It
will
hasn't
not
been
have a quorum.
posted yet either.
It's on the agenda to fill.
That's why I talked about it,
Yeah.
that's all, and we mentioned the planning, so, just,
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Deb.
Public comment. Agenda items only. Public comment. Public comment.
I have something. Rose Lightner Jusky. I'm just wondering, for the planning commission being you're down, however many members, does the planning commission member have to reside in Cucahoga Township? Thank you.
One don't have to. Public comment. Public comment. Public comment. Okay, bill approval, old business. Consideration and approval of outstanding bills carried over from the November 10th meeting.
I went through those bills today. I would,
Is there a new journal printed for that? After the others were added, I didn't know if there were any access given out to board members.
This is the one that's been,
I didn't know if you added that.
so I went through it. I didn't see any, red bells or anything like that. So there's a couple things I'll talk to the clerk about later, but I think she already knows because I made little notes on it. So I'd make a motion to accept the bills that have